In this video, I'm going to show you how I made this modern live edge bench. I hope you enjoy this video, and if you do, I'd love for you to consider subscribing and checking out my other stuff. So this home project, like many of my other home projects, started with me asking my wife which wood she liked best and to come pick out something from the shop. And she picked out a gorgeous spalted elm slab that I had lying there, and I've turned it into a modern bench for our house in a sitting area. So here I'm just squaring up the edges using a square, and then we'll use my track saw to cut it clean here. So for this part, I just measure off of the clean side. I just cut, I believe it ended up being 38 inches. And I'm just marking 38 all the way down, and I'll make another square cut so that they'll be parallel. Sometimes I have to entertain myself while I make these videos. If you do not have a track saw, I would definitely recommend this tool. It's one that I don't use often, but when I do use it, it makes a huge difference for any project. This is one of the last projects that this little Ryobi trim router got to accomplish before it kicked the bucket. Looks like I need a new bit as well. So I'm going to start with an aggressive grit first. I like to use 80 with this Mirka Abranet sandpaper. It does really well for just the first layer of sanding, and I can come at it with 120 right after that. Shout out to thelumbershack.com for this t-shirt. If you haven't checked out their page, you definitely should. I have a code you can use to give you 10% off if you would like. It's in my bio on my Instagram and on YouTube. You can tell that there's snipe at the end of this board here from where it came through the planer, and this, sandpaper at 80 grit just eats it up. I know this is probably not the proper way to do this, but it works pretty well and is quick. I'm sure you've heard of Starbond. I use it on every single project. This one was no exception. I filled some little knots that gave the project a lot of character. I used the black CA medium. And if you need a refill on Starbond, or if you want to try it out, you can use my code MAC10 and it'll give you 10% off. I have a link for that down in the description, or you can just type in that code and it'll help you out a little bit on your purchase. This is my favorite part of the entire project. I had this little knot here that I filled with the black CA glue, and then the elm grain around the knot almost looked like a wavy checkered flag, and I think it looks awesome. I ordered some legs from somebody on Etsy. And here I'm just measuring it out and drilling the holes. I put the tape around the drill bit. I'm sure you've seen this trick before, but just so I don't go through the other side, this is as deep as I wanted to go. And I used my little DFM square here to make sure I was drilling square. This clip is silent because I realized I was playing a song in the background and I'm not trying to get that copyright infringement. Here I'm just using my Woodpecker's TS6, I think it's called, just to make sure I draw a straight line off of my squared edge. It's a really handy tool for that. This part was pretty hard to watch while I was editing this video, so I just went ahead and fast forwarded for you. I had more songs playing in the background in this part of the video. I apologize for that. Here I'm just making sure it's somewhat sturdy. I knew I could reinforce it a little bit later. Here I'm just blowing it off with compressed air before I water pop it. So after it fully dries, I start with 120 sandpaper. Everyone says it, but it's true. You just have to take your time with sanding. I always draw the pencil marks so that I make sure I'm going over every spot evenly at a nice speed. And I just put on a good podcast or a good book and just take my time, try not to rush. So like most of my bigger projects, I'm going to use Rubio Monocoat Pure for this. It really brings out the grain in the elm and is a very durable finish, and I love the way it looks on everything I've ever used it on, so I will continue to use it. I've since switched up my sanding methods for applying Rubio. In this video, you just saw me do 80 grit, and then I water popped it, and I did 120 grit, and I'm going straight to Rubio. I do it a little differently now, and I've liked the results a little more, so you can shoot me a message or something if you'd like to hear that process. This is that part of the project I was talking about earlier. I think it looks awesome once the Rubio is applied here. At this point in the video, I realized I didn't get any shots of me finishing the top, but as you'll notice, I did the bottom first, then did the legs, put the legs on, flipped it over so I could really focus on doing the top, and I must have been so focused on doing the top that I forgot the video, but here's how it looked at the very end. I think the grain on this elm turned out beautiful. I love the contrast between the heartwood and the sapwood on this project as well. So this modern style bench is in our sitting room now. If you've been following me on Instagram or Facebook lately, you'll know this is the same sitting room where we just got done with the big green built-in bookshelves. As always, if you enjoyed this video, I'd love for you to give it a thumbs up or even consider subscribing to my channel and checking out my other videos. You can also find me over on Instagram at MacArthur Woodworks.